majority of the people, when they think about cybersecurity, they think about Mr. Robot, The Matrix, they think about all these movies where people can just log in and or open their laptop and then just press keys nonstop, and then the traffic lights are stopped. A degree in anything is much better than not having a degree, because certain jobs require you to have a degree. At least if you are in human capital, HR, you are designing a role, don't just go on the internet and copy what everyone else is posting because they've got it wrong. Speak to someone in the department and ask them what they really need.
Cyber heroes and cyber friends, welcome to another episode. My name is Mr. Fingerz, as you know, the cyber security guy. And today we are thrilled to have a special guest on the podcast. Well, let me tell you something about him. He's a leader in the IT risk and in cybersecurity with years of experience in protecting businesses and driven security strategies. Now, currently he heads the IT risk for a global company where he oversees security and risk management across South Africa and also in the USA. With over a decade in the field, our guest has held the key roles at two big banks in South Africa, where he made a huge significant contribution to the IT risk management and information security, highlighting his impact in the industry. He's also a certified information system security professional, which is a CISP for those who don't know, and also a certified information security manager. And he's also pursuing a master's of commerce and information system at Wits University. Beyond his technical expertise, he's known for his strategic leadership and passion for inspiring the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, the cyber heroes and also cyber fans, please help me welcome Thabani Joyisa. Brother, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you, Mr. Fingers?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I just had to, you've got a very awesome and your profile is big.
Thanks for the compliment, man. And yeah, the pronunciation was almost there. It's a Tichana Zororo Award, Excellence Award, from Isaka, South Africa chapter, which was awarded to me, I think, last month. For being awesome, man. Yeah,
For continuing what you're doing.
for the excellence. Yeah, and basically, actually, let me also compliment you and thank you for helping me win this award, because as a result of the work that we've been doing and spreading the word, giving people high quality information and accurate information about joining the cybersecurity space. Some leaders in Isaka South Africa chapter have been tuning into our webinars and listening in, and they've saw it fit, because I'm a member of the organization, for them to award me the award for for advancing the profession, basically, and contributing to the profession and helping the young ones, or not always the young ones, but ones that want to switch to cybersecurity.
And this is beautiful, and I'm actually glad that you actually won it. And yeah, man, I think all credit goes to you as well, man. I mean, you've
That's
been
it.
doing
At the back.
such an amazing work in this cybersecurity space, and I think most people don't know your journey. And this is where we're gonna get to break down your
Yeah.
journey, how you started. And most people don't know this because I know you on a personal level that you have so much knowledge and so much nuggets. And today, I'm gonna take those nuggets. We're gonna break it down like crazy. But I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. What actually inspired you to jump on this career path in cybersecurity? Because I know you've got a long story to tell. But what inspired you to
Yeah.
be like, hey, maybe cybersecurity is the thing that I want to take? Tell us a bit more about your background. Where do you come from, and how did you get introduced to cybersecurity?
So for me, I think my transition, or my me joining the industry, has been a journey that I didn't anticipate. If I'm being honest with you, when I was studying, I first of all to be an economist. And then at some point in my degree, I changed my course and I took my second major, which was information systems, and made it my first major. And then I dropped economics, and then I had supply chain as a second major. And this was happening when I was doing my third year. I was like one semester before graduating. Then I did a bit of research about economics. It's a very good field, but my background at home required me to land a job when I finish. And my lecturer at the time at the UKZN told me that I need a master's degree for me to be an economist, and the space is so competitive. And he was right. When I got to one of the first banks that I worked for, the Blue Bank, I remember that the economist, the team that was looking after that department, were less than 10. There were less than 10 economists in that bank. And if you look at the IT guys, they had a staff complement of more than 3,000 IT staff. So he really helped me by convincing me, looking at my passions and also looking at my immediate needs. Because, coming from home, I was the second one to go to university, but I was the first one to finish, get so close to finishing that the parents and everyone could see that this one is going to be the first one to have a university qualification. So for me, when I did my degree, I registered for my honors, and the 2 or 3 modules that I did, because I didn't finish my honors at UKZN, one module was information security. And that module for me really made me decide that when I land a job, because this is the only module that I did at a postgrad level. And in doing the module, there was a section, there was an assignment that we had to do, which was called ethical hacking within that module. So you had to select one of the top 40 companies in the JSE, and you need to come up with information that is not on the public domain, and write a report. You don't need to basically hack the company in a way where you disrupt services. So we're not allowed to do denial of service and things like that. So you had to, find ways, in terms of how their network looks like, find just basic information. And we had to sign some document that will protect us from a legal standpoint if these companies were to find you in their network and then they pursue you. So it was, the lecturer used to call it a get out of jail paper or something like that, get out of jail form. And if you don't sign that, you're not allowed to basically do the assignment, because if they catch you, you don't have that document. It's not dates. You need to, the school had to date stamp it. And if you don't have that, they can pursue you, and you can get arrested. So for me, I found it very, very interesting. Using, I think one of the tools that I was using there was Nmap and other tools. I can't remember the rest of the tools, but I could find, a lot of loopholes where the certificates were not renewed and other information around the directors of this one company. I think it's the biggest supermarket in South Africa. It has yellow and red colors. So that's the company that I chose. And for me, I really enjoyed that. So basically, that module, that course, made up for the whole degree that I did. So I did, obviously, when you're studying, you do, your basics in programming, databases, and I also love database. I wanted to be a database administrator. And then when I did my postgrad, because information security started postgrad at UKZN. That's where I realized the switch happened. I was like, you know what? I don't care what happens. I want to do this thing. Yeah, that's how I ended up there. And then when I went to the first employer that I went to, they said to me, no, you can't join as a grad and join into this team, because we need someone with a basic, understanding of the business as well as some experience as a programmer. So I didn't do computer science, so they saw that as a disadvantage. And they said to me, you don't necessarily need to do computer science, but if you're passionate and you have, stamina for learning over the weekends when everyone else is going out clubbing and going to watch football at the stadium, if you can sit at your laptop and do your hack my box type of exercises at your spare time, even during December holidays, then you might be the person for the field. And I understand where they were coming from because majority of the people that were working there were highly technical. I was speaking to someone that was a developer and then they switched to InfoSec. So every time you speak to someone in IT security or in cybersecurity, everyone will tell you based on their experience and how they've transitioned. So you mustn't always take what people tell you as the gospel truth, because in the cybersecurity space, there is a good balance of the technical guys and the non-technical guys. So I think that's how I transitioned to it. And yeah, I've been in the field for February, it's going to be 10 years now. So I've worked for the first bank for about 6 years. Then I went to another bank, the most innovative bank, for about a year and a half. So now I work for Discovery in their Vitality program, the Vitality Global.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because I think what I want to know, maybe people at home also are interested in knowing, what is your current title right now, and what is that to do on the day-to-day basis? What are your duties?
So my title on our HR system says I'm a senior specialist. It says IT risk senior specialist. I think it says that on my payslip. But at work, I am the head of IT risk. So I'm the guy that's overall responsible for technology risk for Vitality Global. So Vitality Global will obviously be our South Africa operation, the office in 1DP, One Discovery Place in Sandton, and our Chicago office in Illinois. So that office as well. So anything that has to do with IT risk, it comes to me for both offices. So I report into the head of risk. So the head of risk is the one that's responsible for all those types that we have in the business. So basically, my manager's responsibility is risk in general, risk in totality for the organization. So basically, what risk does is, or me explaining risk is that risk is the loss due to failed internal processes, people, systems, or external events. So we are helping the business manage the loss, the risk of loss due to failed internal processes, people, systems, or external factors. So I'm just hired for the systems part so that shall the loss happen as a result of a system, then I need to reduce that likelihood and impact. So IT risk basically looks at the risk of loss related to information technology failures, including cybersecurity threats and system outages. So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Just to
Basically.
summarize, for most people who don't understand, he basically looks at the impact of the business if something were to happen, but in the more IT and
Mm,
security risk side of things.
yes.
So his whole point, he will predict in terms of if this were to happen,
Mm,
how are we going to handle
yeah.
that? And right now, for example, great example of this is
Yes.
if, for example, you don't patch a certain vulnerability, he looks at that. Why was it not patched? What's going to
Yes.
happen and the risk of that? So those type of things, and that's actually a
Mm,
very exciting career field to be in as well, because I mean you get to see and
yeah.
experience a lot of things every day. But let's talk more about
Yeah.
your
No,
CISP and
definitely.
your CISM as well. How's that
Mm,
changed your
cool.
life?
So for that one, I think I would want to first mention why I need suspension if I don't
Yeah,
work as a or as an information security officer, because there's an understanding and a belief that you need to take CISP if you are working as an IT security officer. But I took that as a risk person. So my role requires me to provide assurance, oversight into the information security team. So you can't challenge people in terms of how well they've designed their information security program and how they've executed it and how it has operated effectively in the last year or so without understanding what they're supposed to be doing from the first place. So that is why I need to be as competent as them for me to provide a, a meaningful contribution and a challenge process. Because my role really requires me to know and have worked in the information security field as a cybersecurity professional for me to be able to come in and audit them, if I may put it that way. So that's the whole point why I have CISP and CISM. It's been an interesting journey for me to get these two certifications. I got my CISM in 2023, and then I passed my CISP exam this year, 2024, in May, just before the elections, 2 days before the elections. So I was prepared. I was taking my CISP. CISP for me, also with CISM, but CISP mainly, has changed stakeholder attitude, for example, in the office. They know that CISP is the gold standard of cybersecurity certifications. So it has brought that level of respect in terms of when I say something, it's something that I know. I've had experience with it. I've been tested that I understand the crux of it. And I've seen it hasn't changed anything for my salary. My salary is still the same.
I think now let's talk more about the two
Mm,
domains in cybersecurity, which is the technical and non-technical side of cybersecurity. Now, most of the time, a lot of people they know a lot about the technical side of cybersecurity, where every single person who comes in, they were like, I want to become a cybersecurity analyst. And I'm like, but there's more careers in cybersecurity. You guys don't understand that.
mm,
I think from a person like
mm,
yourself who's been in cybersecurity for a decade now, do you mind just
mm.
because I feel like people should know this? This guy explains it in the most amazing and perfect way ever. Bro, take people through that concept of technical and non technical. Like, please, just I'm giving you the flow. Let's go.
So for me, I think this is quite an interesting question because majority of the people, when they think about cybersecurity, they think about Mr. Robot, they think about the Matrix, they think about all these movies where people can just log in and or open their laptop and then just press keys nonstop, and then the traffic lights are stopped. The security gates are open. They just press enter button. It's a magic button, and they think you need to be a magician for you to be able to work in cybersecurity or to be a hacker. So for me, I would say cybersecurity to people that are outside of it has been painted as a highly technical environment, which I do not want to take that away. It is highly technical. However, there is segments to it. So you find that if you look at things like your SOC analyst, if you look at your pen tests, so those are the guys that really need to know what they're doing in terms of coding, playing around your hack the box and being able to find loopholes in the systems and be able to do threat analysis and try to understand how how can people use a particular threat vector and enumerate their access and move around literally on the system and finally compromise it fully. So you really need to understand programming for you to be in that space. You need to know coding. I don't know to what extent because I haven't worked in that particular side of cyber, but you really need to have a good understanding of it. And you really need to be a person that's willing to put in the hours to work across the clock for you to understand and learn. So you need to use a lot of your own time, unpaid, for you to learn certain things, you know? And then there's this one part of cybersecurity, which is the face of cybersecurity to the external world, to the business. Because when someone walks in and say, I've got a business, I've got an app, and I provide home loans in the business. And people use the system to apply for loans, check their status, upload documents, and get a reply from this thing. And then the guy that actually does security assessment on the solution, they'll basically look at, where can this thing be compromised? Where can someone log in and alter the code so that it rejects people of certain race? and then only approve certain ways or something. They just want to mess around with the system. So basically, that's the technical guys, but they don't necessarily usually go and speak directly to the business. You usually have someone that is in the middle between the business and the security engineering guys. So that's where you find majority of the roles in the GRC. GRC stands for governance, risk, and compliance. So those guys, they look at, so whatever we do in cybersecurity is in response to a particular need. If there's an issue, there's a vulnerability, we need to treat it in a certain way. So there's a particular guideline, there's a standard, there's a framework. So those guys, they regulate to say, if you are collecting my payment data, this is how you must process it. From the time you're collecting it, when I log in into the internet banking app, I log in there, I put in my username and password, and the data must be encrypted. They'll tell you maybe N minus one, so you know that transport layer security must be in place. When this person logs in, there must be protection against session hijacking and all these other things. So they'll tell you what they need. So we in the GRC side are the ones that would look at those requirements and make sure that although you build a system to be secure by design, it must have controls that are commensurate to the risk, that responds to the requirements of the regulatory needs. So we will check and make sure that, in terms of our ISO 27001, we've responded adequately in terms of our IT security program, where we are operating, locally, if there's an additional requirement from a regulator, from SARS, from SAP, or wherever, we make sure that those requirements are clearly understood. There's POPI here, there's GDPR there. That's our role to make sure that when they say the data must be disposed 7 years, by no longer than 7 years after exiting the relationship with the client, we need to make sure that our backup policy takes into account that, because if we are breached after 10 years, I've stopped banking with you, and then my records are all over the internet. I can go to lawyers and have a lawsuit against the bank to say, why are you keeping my data? Because I closed my accounts 10 years ago, and by law you should have deleted all my data. And the only time you're allowed to keep my data beyond the we us exiting the relationship is when there is litigation. There's pending court cases around that particular relationship or client. So then you can keep it. But if the data is dormant, the data is at rest, there is no movement, there's nothing. Most of the time, after 7 years, you need to de-identify the data or disguise the data in a acceptable way, because there's also ways of distracting of destroying the data. You can't just delete it, go to recycle bin and then empty that thing. No, there's traces of the data that sit in disks that someone can use a particular software to retrieve that data. So there's a lot of things that we go through to make sure that this type of data is handled in accordance with the law and the requirements of the regulation. And when we no longer need it, we safely dispose it. So we usually go and speak directly to business, speak to business analysts, and we get the requirement, and we go back and translate that to the security engineering teams to say, guys, this is what we need. So basically, we like the business analyst. If you understand what a business analyst does, they are the bridge between business and IT. So business will come with requirements and say, we need an app that does A, B, C, and D. And then they go to IT and say, I need an app that does A, B, and C, but they're not going to say A, B, and C because IT might not understand how to convert A, B, and C into the language they understand. Then the business analyst will convert that into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and IT say, oh, I get you. Then they build it, and then they take it back to business and say, is this what we asked for? So basically, they are that connection bridge. And we are similar to that. We're like a business analyst within the cybersecurity space, where we really understand the business, understand the environment in which we operate, and then we translate that. So those are some of the things that we get to. That's why you get GRC guys. They usually get elevated to your CISOs. They also get to sit in the mencos, in the board, in the expos, because they go there and explain and argue because they also understand technically how easy or difficult it is for a particular vulnerability to be exploited. So they come and explain it. They might not know how to hack it themselves, but they understand it technically and how it works, and they are there to bridge that gap.
That's actually good, man. I love
So
that. I
yeah,
love that example. But take us through in terms of what do you think certifications? Do you think certifications are essential for breaking into cybersecurity? And what's your reason behind it? If yes, why? If no, why?
yeah. So my answer to that, I think certifications are quite important. And for me, I believe they are more important than a degree in IT. I'm not saying you don't need a degree in IT. It helps for you if you have the junior degree and basic understanding so that people don't need to explain to you what buffer overflow is. Um, so you need basic things, but you can learn if let's say you have a degree in English, you can learn, you can take maybe ITIL, you can take COBIT. Those two they can help you start a foundation within IT, just to understand IT. Then you can transition. So for me, I would say a degree in computer science, information systems, engineering, computer engineering are first prize. If you have those, then it makes it much more easier for you to transition. But if you don't have those, it doesn't mean that you can't. I know people that are chartered accountants that works in cybersecurity. So a degree in anything is much better than not having a degree, because not that you need it, because when you apply, certain jobs require you to have a degree, right? So there's a difference between what you need at work to do your work and what you need to set your foot at the door. So the degrees it will help you to land a job. So that's why the degree is important. But why is the degree important? A degree is important because it shows and demonstrates that you can start a task until you finish a task. Basically, it's a universally accepted way to say this person can endure the level of difficulty, and they can sustain themselves in doing something until they complete it. That's why degrees are 3 years and 4 years. So if someone went through that process and they can demonstrate that they can pass assignments, presentations, exams, there's levels to this thing, and then you are likely to hire that person because they've demonstrated that if you give them a task, help me with the presentation or help me do this, then at least you know that this person has demonstrated at a university level that they can start something until they finish it, you know? So that's for me, that's how I view a degree. That's why it doesn't matter to me which degree you have. If you have a degree, a university degree, I think you're good enough to move to cyber. However, from a certification perspective, you really need certificates. So for me, I know people that are working in cybersecurity that only have certifications. They haven't done any degree, and they're doing extremely well. And by the look of things, they were not going to come. They're not going back to university because they're already there. It's unlike someone who still a degree helps you, you know, get the foot at the door. But if you're already there, you might as well just focus on your certifications. So the certifications, I would say, they are highly respected in the world. In South Africa, the context is slightly different. A lot of recruiters, they don't understand these certifications. And it's quite disappointing to see someone saying, we need someone to do a job. And in doing this job in cybersecurity, we need any cybersecurity certification. It can be CompTIA Security Plus or CISP or CISM or offensive security certified professional. So for me, the minute you do that, I understand you don't know what you're asking for. You can't put offensive security certified professional and CISP and CISM at the same level as Security Plus. When you look at the job adverts in America and London, they're quite strict. They'll tell you we want CISP, we want CISM, CISP or CISM, or offensive security certified professional, OSCP. They're quite strict. You can't find any other certificate or CISA. Maybe they'll put five, but all of those five are hard certificates. They're not going to ask you to come with a certificate like certified in cybersecurity, which is a certification that has no requirement for you to work in cybersecurity, no experience. It's an entry level certificate. So for me, if someone says I need a person to work here at whatever level, whatever job title, and I don't even know the difference in terms of the accreditations and certifications in that field, that's where the problem starts. You don't even know what you're looking for because you're getting people with CISP, OSCP, CISM, CISA, and the likes competing with people with CC and Security Plus. So already you, as an employer, you already at the back foot because you've opened the net too wide. You don't really know what you're looking for. So for me, I've seen this issue within South Africa. A lot of companies that really don't know what they're looking for. At least if you are in human capital, HR, you are designing a role. Don't just go on the internet and copy what everyone else is posting because they've got it wrong. Speak to someone in the department and ask them what they really need.
I really love that, man. Yo, that was actually a food nuggets. But, before you leave, on this last question that I want to throw in is, what advice would you give to somebody at home? Whether they sitting at home right now, they'll be like, I got inspired by this interview right now, but I want to jump
Mm.
into cybersecurity. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do next. Or, I feel so overwhelmed because the internet has so much information and I'm so confused right now.
So I think for me, the advice would be first you need to understand yourself in terms of your stamina, in terms of would you be able to do the security engineering side or the GRC side. I think the GRC side is by far easier than the engineering side. I know people have different opinions, but this is why we have fewer people as pen testers, as SOC analysts than we have as the other side. So it's because of the level of difficulty. So for me, I would say if you if you can make that decision in terms of deciding, maybe you don't need to decide in the beginning. Maybe you need to see both before you decide. So I would recommend that you look at your academic background in terms of you have a degree. Do you want to do this thing by starting by getting a degree, or do you want to start with certification and look for entry level roles and build yourself up from there? Because what I've seen is that most people that I've mentored and spoke to, they are already working and they're business analysts and they want to transition, right? And the people that want to transition are already at a particular salary. So they can't go to entry level roles because they can't take a salary cut. So that's where the challenge comes. However, you can conquer that by starting by, for example, doing certified in cybersecurity from ISC2, which is a free exam. Once you pass that, then you reach out to your security team. So start with your security team, not your line manager, your security team in your organization and say, look, I would like to be seconded to your team and share with someone or work there or join you in some of the meetings. The end goal is for me to transition here, right? And then once you do
Yeah.
that, then you can speak to your manager and tell them that you interested in cybersecurity, you have a certification there, you've reached out to the team, they said, look, You can pop in once in a while and join them in for coffee, join them for meetings, and help them and be an extra pair of hands. That's how you can transition if you're already getting paid a particular amount, which is not an entry level amount, because no one would want to take a salary cut. So you start by volunteering whilst doing your job and then helping them there, sitting in there and trying understanding the terminology, because the more you spend time with them, the more you speak like them. And then they will end up giving you some admin work because there's a lot of admin work in cybersecurity. So you start by doing admin work. You do your Excel sheets there, you do there's that thing where you look at the vulnerability scores, I forgot what they call it. You look at that and you help them tidy up things and clean up, just come there as a cleaner, within InfoSec. And at your spare time, maybe you can speak with your manager and say, on Fridays, I'm going to be working with the InfoSec team. And then maybe after 6 months, you can take Security Plus. After a year, then you can ask to transition. They will take you. And then you take your harder exams, your CSIMs, your CSAN, your CISP, and the likes. So that's how you can transition if you're already working. But if you're a student at university, I would really recommend that you do a STEM degree. A STEM degree is a science, technology, engineering, accounting, mathematics degree. STEAM, STEM degree. So if you are doing any of the STEM degree, you can really work in IT without anyone asking you for an IT degree. Okay, so that is your science, technology, engineering, accounting, and mathematics. Those five. Any of those five. If your degree falls there, you don't need an IT degree to work in IT. You can apply with your degree. No one is going to ask you. If you've got a chemical engineering degree, you apply for an IT graduate program. No one is going to ask you for a computer science degree. It doesn't work like that. So you must know that if you are still in university.